Hi everyone! Today we're going to paint a painting from some photographs that I took up in Michigan when I went to visit my daughter, my son-in-law, my grandchildren up for Thanksgiving. I took my son with me and we went and we had a wonderful time. It's so nice to spend time with family. I miss them all so much. Got to bake pies with my daughter and make our whole Thanksgiving dinner together. It was really wonderful. And I took a lot of pictures, and on the day before I left and on the day of my leaving, it snowed like crazy and it was wonderful. I was so excited to see snow. It's been years. And even my son, who really doesn't like the cold weather, was really happy to see the snow too. So anyway, here's a picture of a barn that I took as we were traveling from Germantown, eating lunch out and doing a little shopping, and just taking photos as the car drove by all these scenic barns. Hope you enjoy. This is an original photograph I took while in Michigan, on the road with my daughter and son-in-law and my son while we were doing a little bit of Christmas shopping. Old farms and barns are out in the area we were in, and some of it is just beautiful. But I wanted to adjust this painting a little bit. I don't think I want quite this much information in it. So I cut it down a little bit here. Took off some of the top. I don't need quite that much in there. And I took out, if you notice over here, you have this light area. I don't think I need that in there. It's distracting from the main thing I want to show. And I don't think I need this house in there. So we took off the top, took out this light area here and the house. I played around a little bit with if the sunshine was coming through these trees a little more. Then I played around with the possibility that I could switch it up and put the house on this side because the light was kind of coming from here, and I kind of like it to go from left to right. But I'm not perfectly happy with that. So I'll probably end up doing this right here. This shows you where all of the dark areas in the painting are if we're going to break it up into dark, medium, and light. Here's the medium areas. And here are the light areas. So let's look at this saturation here. I've turned it into a black and white photo. There's the color, there's the black and white. Color, black and white. It helps you to see just what needs to be light, medium, and dark. Okay, so here's a little sketch just to give us a general idea. Once again, when you use colored pencil, which is what I've used here, these are just watercolor pencils, because I probably will paint this in with watercolor just to see how it looks before I go into the oil painting. You can't necessarily see the darkest darks with the watercolor pencils. It's very dark here, not quite as dark here, but I am trying to show that these are the darks and these are the mediums, including a couple of the clouds up here. And then the lighter ones are coming through here and most of the sky here. So now I have an idea of how I want it. And yes, I have actually shortened this a tiny little bit on this side. Moved this over a little bit more and shortened this here. This is called designing your painting. Okay, this is just a very little tiny painting. Oops, and it's wet, and I just got it on my fingers. But just to show you how big my hand is, this is only like, oh, not even 3 inches tall. It's just a quickie to try to get a concept of what I want to paint in the oil painting. And I like this shape. I think it's working out, so we'll move along. And I'm in my laundry room, and of course laundry is going on, so excuse the noise. I'll probably go over this with sound. And you'll probably get to hear my birds screaming in the background instead. So there's my little watercolor, and there's my photo I took in black and white to kind of give me an idea of what I want to do here. I will talk as little as possible because it's pretty self-explanatory what I'm doing here. Putting in a little base for some color so I can start with a nice warm tone. I scratch in some dark areas and some light areas to represent the trees and the bushes. Put a little bit of color in so I get an idea of what it might be like. I'm not putting a lot of time in because I can change any of this if I want to without having much invested into it. Every artist has a concept of what they're going for. I wiped this painting out several times in several places, like the tree. I just did not like the way I placed it, so I moved it 3 different times. The roof was bothering me on the building. There were so many things on this very simple painting that I wanted a certain way, including that shadow I'm putting in on that tree right now. At one point, it got a little too vertical, and I really wanted it to go obliquely, or not really horizontal, but sort of at an oblique angle. Like it is right now, but as the painting progressed, it changed a little bit as I had to go over that area several times. And it was important to me that it go at that angle. Now this would have looked fine as just some grass and a tree, but I was determined to get this block of dark tree shadows in there. Sometimes your original concept is not really the best one. Certain things happen in the painting when you're painting it, and it actually is painting itself. But you keep fighting it because you have an idea of what you want it to be. And in doing so, you can really put yourself in a bad spot. I kind of wanted this to be very expressionistic, which means not really realistic. But I vacillate between very representational and realistic to something that is a little bit more fantasy. this is where I start putting the dark shadow in here. That's coming from the trees that are going to be blocking the sun up above from all the leaves. There'll be a little bit of that warmth showing through in this painting, even when it's finished, which makes it worthwhile putting it in. Sometimes days go by and I look at my painting and I decide, nope, I want to change it, and I do something else to it. So there's no guarantee that a painting that I put on YouTube ends up looking exactly like the painting that I'm showing you, because who knows, if it's still in my house, I may change it again. But at the end of this video, you will see where it currently is at, and hopefully it will stay that way. That little tree in front of the house was bothering me, and I ended up having to put it behind the house. It just wasn't working. So what color is the shadow? Well, that tree, being very dark brown, would have a shadow that has some darkness and warmth in it, but it also has, technically, it's the green grass that the shadow is being cast on, so it would probably be a very dark green with some warm brown in it. It may even have some reflection from the sky in it. So shadows are a combination of a lot of colors. And after I put it in brown, I started thinking, I think I want this to be more colorful. Let me put the shadow in with some blues and some reds and some purples, which I think is what I ended up doing at the end of this painting. Here I'm trying to put the road in that goes all the way back to the farmhouse. It's got splashes of light on it. Of course, I changed the color of this road as well. Like I've said many times, painting is a series of corrections, or in my case, a series of changing my mind over and over again. You would think, having painted it in watercolor to start with, I would be sure exactly what I wanted to do with this. But as I start to paint it and play with the colors, I start changing my mind. That's pretty rare for me. I usually have a very good idea of what I want to do, but for some reason, this one was just a conundrum. So you play like a child, you add your colors, bring your sunshine into it, the warmth that you felt. Okay, everyone, this is pretty much finished. I think I've made the point I was trying to make, which is feeling that sunshine on a cold winter day in the farmer's field with the golden light shining through. The meadow behind is full of golden light, and the top of the barn is where the sun is coming from. The trees are casting a beautiful purple shadow, and wherever the sunlight is coming from behind those trees, you see the light striking through. It's hitting here, it's making grass lighter here, it's lightening up the driveway here, and I think it just gives a feeling of light and happiness. Several things I changed. I moved the barn door down here because I felt it needed to be more here where my center of interest is. I moved this, instead of having 2 trees, I just made 1 so the light could travel behind it. I changed the tree a little bit because I felt I needed to. It was a little closer to the barn, but I needed some space right here. Everything has its meaning. These clouds are coming this way so that they can accomplish this diagonal that I think we need in the painting. It's full of color and fun. You can see when you look at the barn, there's tons of colors on it. The grass has lots of different colors. There's brush strokes everywhere. I left some of the background coming through on purpose so you could feel the warmth back there. These colors are not 100% natural, so it's a little bit fantasy, but when you step back and you look at it, you certainly know that we're representing a barn here on a beautiful sunny day, and that's all that mattered to me. With the light on top of the trees here, you see it's a little lighter because the sun is striking down on it as opposed to the golden light that's coming through, illuminating the leaves more yellow. All of these are for a reason. I hope I relayed what I was trying to here. The happiness I felt seeing the sunshine on a cold day in Michigan, which I miss very much because I live in hot Florida, which I love as well, but I really enjoy being there during the winter. As I said before, it snowed like a day or 2 after this, and it was very exciting for me. So this is a memory I have that I will not forget now. So everybody try something. Take something that means something to you. I don't care if it's a teapot or if it's a landscape. Just some leaves that you saw on a tree that you thought were beautiful. And try to paint something that you enjoy, because you can't go wrong if you do that. Remember, of course you can paint too. See you next time, everyone.